According to the Conversion of Biological Diversity, an ecosystem approach aims to integrate land, water, and living organisms through the following principles: sustainable use, conservation of biodiversity, and equitable outcomes. It emphasizes the need for best practice terrestrial ecology, which incorporates rigorous scientific methodologies as well as participation, transparency, and adaptive management.
The GAEF document states that long-term monitoring of animal diversity is an imperative aim to achieve conservation of terrestrial ecology in EIA. To implement this monitoring, an accurate list of per-disturbance species should be utilized to achieve best practice. Furthermore, it is recommended that criteria should be gathered on indicative animal species such as invertebrates, reptiles, and birds for long-term rehabilitation projects.
It is not practical to measure all the components of terrestrial ecosystem diversity and processes. However, variation in dominance of plants across sites provides a measure of the structural diversity of ecosystems. Completion measures based on relative cover of area occupied by ground cover, native plants, and weeds measured by transects or permanent plots is most effective. Attaining effective conservation targets requires biodiversity knowledge of recovery trends in plant communities and species.
The EPA's Terrestrial Environmental Quality document considers the significance of terrestrial ecology in relation to regional cumulative impacts, context of location, and significance and biodiversity of ecological values maintained by soil and vegetation quality. For terrestrial ecology, rigorous and qualitative surveys are required to be undertaken to test the significance of flora, fauna, and vegetation, fill in knowledge gaps, and provide baseline information for environmental management. A key example of terrestrial ecology significance test was in the Pilbara, Kimberley, and Gascoyne regions of WA, where recent tests have identified high levels of plant endemism and biodiversity. Despite this, the significance of communities and species in the region is generally uncertain due to lack of regional surveys. The GAEF documents claims that there is typically uncertainty in terrestrial ecology EIA caused by lack of reporting and auditing of outcomes, as well as poor stakeholder communication and consultation due to lack of resources. Therefore, throughout each stage of EIA, stakeholders should be consulted and communication strategies should be implemented in the planning stage. During operational stages, there should be particular emphasis placed on effective collaboration, supervision and communication, and also education to achieve a successful rehabilitation, reporting and monitoring outcomes. The final stage, which is the assessment of the project, requires data to be readily available to all stakeholders affected. Shortages in technical knowledge in the rehabilitation industry in WA has been noted in the GAEF document. Best practice terrestrial ecology in EIA therefore requires extensive skills and a high level of regional biodiversity knowledge and experience, specifically in recovery trends of plant and animal communities and species to reduce uncertainty. There is a significant amount of knowledge concerning terrestrial ecosystems available from universities, the government and industry bodies to reduce uncertainty. It is recommended that rehabilitation practitioners make greater use of relevant scientific journals to disseminate information, especially the Ecological Society of Australia and the Society for Restoration Ecology International. As per the Terrestrial Environmental Quality document, a rigorous approach to risk modelling, mapping, testing, analysis, and proposed management should be consistent with published scientific accreditation and guidance during EIA for terrestrial ecology.
For terrestrial ecology, EIA is on baseline information which accounts for temporal trends and the use of indicator ecosystems that are more sensitive to predicted impacts are required to provide the earliest indication of change during monitoring. The results of this monitoring should be periodically reviewed to detect unforeseen negative impacts and to allow for alteration of management plans. Unclear regulations and methodology in terrestrial ecology hinder the ability to achieve an ecosystem approach. The GAEF document states that baseline study approaches for terrestrial ecology include flora, fauna, and vegetation surveys which provide baseline data for environmental management. Significance and rehabilitation outcomes required to be sustained by the proponent. It is imperative that the proponent keeps the baseline information readily available so that limitations are transparent, monitoring studies are possible, and the surveys are accessible for third parties, and surveys should be kept for a minimum of 7 years.
Overall, the WA-EA process displays a high level of best practice principles. There is a focus on the referral process, which emphasises the requirement to only refer proposals that are likely to have a significant impact on the environment. This is evident of a focused EIA outlined by the IAIA, which is defined as an EIA that concentrates decision-making on proposals likely to have a significant effect on the environment. According to the IAIA, a transparent EIA process should have 3 main elements: public accessibility, clear and easy-to-follow documentation, and outlining key environmental factors and any limitations or difficulties. In WA, the first and third elements are achieved by the provision of key documents on the EPA website. According to the IAA, participative EIA best practice is a process that provides the public an opportunity to be informed, involved, and have their concerns addressed both in EIA documentation and decision-making. The online consultation hub is an example of this, accessible on their webpage for the public to participate in EIA. Additional to the consultation hub, the EPA also receives public comments and submissions via mail, telephone, email, and in person.